Lifers, welcome back to the Live the Life podcast. As always, I am your host, Eric Aroca. I am super excited for this episode. On the podcast, let me just tell you who we got. Let me get my eyes on here. On the podcast today, we have Nick Morrison. He is a former professional bull rider. Wow, I'll just say that. Who had a career-ending injury at 21 years old. He suffers from a traumatic brain injury due to incurring over 50 recorded concussions throughout his life. Dang, dude. In 2020, Nick had an adverse reaction brought on by his concussion issues. That left him fully mute. Through hard work and dedication, he taught himself to speak again, one word at a time. Nick is now a nationally touring stand-up comedian and motivational speaker. He has performed comedy from Las Vegas to Nashville, spoken to Fortune 500 companies, and inspired crowds of thousands with his story. Nick, welcome to the Live the Life podcast, my friend.
Hey, Eric, thanks so much for having me on, man. I'm excited to be a part of your podcast.
Yeah, you bet. So you and I met probably a little over a year ago. Is that?
I think it was almost probably about 2 years ago, honestly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
You're right.
It doesn't seem like it, but yeah, it was a couple years ago. You were the president for the NSA Houston, and we come by and yeah, it was awesome. It was great. That was what inspired me to join NSA this year. Actually, it took me a little bit. I'm kind of slow to the uptake a little bit, but man, I'm loving it there, and just love the people and the connections and just all of it. It's been a lot of fun. It wasn't that I didn't want to join. I just was too busy and couldn't find time. But I've been able to make most of the stuff so far, and so I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, I was come out there and met you and Dave. I can't remember his name. Guy named David.
Bell?
No, man, I can see his face and everything, but I can't think of it. I can think of it, I just can't right now. But he was speaking, and it was a lot, man. I got a lot out of it, and
Awesome.
yeah, it's great. I'm excited to be on this podcast, man. I've been watching it here, and yeah, it's great.
I love it, dude. I love it. Yeah, we met at a networking event that we were hosting, and then we were introduced. Or maybe you came to, I don't know, I think that you came to one of our monthly meetings is what it was.
Yep. I came to one of the monthly meetings.
We met at a monthly meeting.
David Newman.
That's bull rider.
Yeah.
Yeah, so back 2 years ago, I was thinking about starting a podcast. It was like this thing, and I was like, I don't want to do it. I want to do it. I don't want to do it. Just going back and forth. But in that phase, when I was like, I should do it, I was thinking, I need to have this guy on the podcast because he's a bull rider. And I know, man, okay, I have a lot of friends from high school. I grew up in Utah, so rodeo is a big thing in Utah, as you probably well know.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of
the Wright family. They're all from up there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I had a lot of crazy friends who did rodeo. Like I had a lot of friends that didn't do football, did not do rugby, did not do any of like the physical, what we call violent sports, right?
Yeah.
But they did something worse. They did bull riding.
Well, I come from South Dakota, and it's like the main sport there. Like Friday Night Lights in Texas, that's the way it is there, man. It's your high school rodeo, especially when I was coming up through high school, we call it the golden years. That's when there was just a ton of talent coming out of South Dakota during that time. A lot of your top bronc riders in the world, future world champions.
Yeah.
I mean, it was such a really talented group of individuals, just our whole friend group pretty much growing up, and then you grow up, and that's who ends up being like, I mean, you think about like a school of 250 kids K through 12, and three of those schools about 60 miles from each other, and having like one class have like 4 or 5 guys go to the Super Bowl, as football players. That's what it was for rodeo for us. And so it's a big, until the Wright boys, South Dakota dominated the bronc ride until those Utah boys started coming out there, and then now they have the majority guys. But yeah, it's people don't realize how big of the sport is outside of if they haven't been in that sport or they haven't been around it, they don't realize it's a very large sport. It's a lot of history behind it. And there's a massive fan base for not just the PRCA, which is the all the events, but you have the PBR also, which is the professional bull riders, which is what I'm on or was on, and that's that's got a massive fan base on it as well.
Yeah, you know what's really interesting that at least I found it extremely interesting over the years is anytime I go to a PBR event, I say every time. I've only been to I think three my whole life, right?
Yeah.
But I did attend one here in Houston, and I thought it was really interesting how many bull riders come from Brazil,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So
right?
Brazil, so you have soccer, bull riding, volleyball. That's your
Yeah,
sports in
isn't that
Brazil.
crazy?
Yeah, and so I traveled with the first guy to come from Brazil, Adriano Moraes. That was a good friend of mine, and he's a
Wow.
legend in Brazil. And all the guys that come after him, he's kind of the first guy. He won 3 world titles, and man,
Jeez.
just an outstanding talent there in Brazil. So it usually comes down to Brazil and America and Canada. Those are kind of your 3 big countries. They have it other
Yeah,
places, but bull riding's huge in Brazil. And then if you go to a bull riding in Brazil, I encourage every bull rider to try it once because it's insane the energy there. You don't understand a word they're saying, but the music is blaring so loud you can't hear them anyways, and the crowd is way into it. I mean, it's just a lot of it's a full show there. So yeah, it's bull riding is very big there, and Brazil has a huge bunch of guys that come here. I actually towards the end of my career I actually rode with a Brazilian rope. There's an American style and a Brazilian style, and being around Adriano, he got me to buy into the science behind a Brazilian rope. And so yeah, there's just a lot to it. It's a big sport over there, and a lot of really good bull riders out there. There's a
that's
kid
so
right
cool.
now that he's 19 or 20. I traveled with his dad a lot. John Krimmer is his name, and he's the best of both worlds because his dad Paulo comes from Brazil, but they live in Texas. So he's kind of considered the child of both Brazil and America. So he's a massive fan favorite. Yeah,
Yeah, that is so cool, man. That's
yeah,
way cool. Well, it sounds like you really enjoyed bull riding. It sounds like
yeah,
you really, were digging that. So let's kind of dive into the heart of this a little bit. I mean, 50 concussions or over 50 concussions. So do me a favor, Nick. All right. If you ever get on a bull again, all right, please wear like, the new football helmets that they
yeah,
have, and they have like that wrapping that goes around them.
yeah,
And then on
yeah.
top of that, I want you to like wrap some styrofoam, and I don't know, your head, your helmet should be about this big, right? By the time
Well,
you're
I can
ready.
promise you I won't be getting on any bulls. I haven't been on a bull since I officially 2004, but I got on some in 2008 because I was missing the itch. But I realized, but I haven't been on bulls in forever. So yeah, so I had my pro career was pretty frustrating. It was once I finally got to the pros, I broke C2 in my neck my rookie year, sat out that whole
Wow.
year, come back break T10 and 11 in my back, sat out that whole year, was having shoulder problems, had a big surgery on one of my shoulders that put me out for about 9 months. And my very first PBR back, I had a career-ending injury. So my career ended when I was 21, but I'd accrued right around 20 to 23 concussions riding bulls in about a 6-year period. But I'd had them, working on a ranch. I grew up on a large ranch up, and working around cows and breaking horses and stuff. Like it's just going to happen. But where a lot of my concussions happened in 2000 and I believe it was 12. My dates kind of get mixed up, but when I couldn't ride bulls anymore, oh, it was 2008 is when it was. I couldn't ride bulls anymore. I bought a race car because I had to find something to do adrenaline with, and I wrecked a race car, and that kind of was the concussion that pushed everything over the edge. Everybody kind of has everybody's brain's different. Some people it's 5 concussions, some people it's 30, 40, 50 concussions till it goes. But it pushed me over the edge to where I have now what's called post concussion syndrome, and
Yeah.
I pass out a lot. My friends call me their personal goat, their fainting goat, because I pass out a lot, and so I hit my head when I pass out a lot now, and so we've gotten smarter about it, but it took a while to adjust to that. And so doctors, we every time I'd get knocked out, we'd call a doctor, but eventually by the time it was about 50, he showed my wife how to check for concussions, said stop wasting our money or wasting your money coming here and having us tell you have one, because the more concussions you get, a concussion isn't a blow to the outside of the head. A concussion is the brain moving too fast inside the cranium and moving side to side too fast, especially hits inside the head. And the more concussions you get, if you don't let those heal, what eventually happens is that brain gets loose inside the brain or inside the cranium, and that's what's happening with me now. And so, I mean, just about 6 or 7 weeks ago, I got a sneezing attack and sneezed just really hard. And my wife said I went into the fencing position, which is a sign that you've been knocked out really bad, and just laid there stiff for a good 2 minutes. And so I'm just sneezing, it's so easy for me to get knocked out now. And so the concussion just, they just kind of piled up over time, kind of based off of stuff. And the big part was I didn't let myself heal. Like when I broke my back, I mean, I broke it in two places. It was a pretty serious break, and I sat out for 8 weeks, and we made a brace, and I just started riding bulls again after 8 weeks. So my back wasn't fully healed, and I had this brace on that would hold it straight, and I'm back to riding bulls. And so you set yourself up to more injuries, because while you're trying to protect one part of your body, on bulls that rank at that level, it's the top of the sport, and those bulls are the smallest mistakes gonna put you in a bad position. So if you're trying to protect one area, you kind of put yourself in. And so the reason I got hurt so much was because I wouldn't let myself heal, and the reason I got a lot of concussions was because I wouldn't let the concussion heal. And so it just kind of compounded over time until I got knocked out 3 times in the same night, and that just really was when everything kind of accelerated on me.
Man, that sounds serious. I mean, I remember playing high school football and getting what we called back then, right? This is, I mean, I think you're a pretty young guy, but this is back in the mid 80s, right? Mid to
Hmm.
late 80s. We called them stingers, right?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, you got a dinger, right? Oh, you got a
Yep.
dinger. And you
Got
just
your bell
basically,
rung. Yep.
and you took it
Yep.
off, and you went back out and played, and not knowing, man, you just had a concussion. I remember, I mean, I still remember to this day the concussions that I suffered playing football, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I vividly remember, or in boxing, I just remember what those when those times were. So yeah, man, that is just, it's incredible that you're here. And you, so with the concussions, you lost your ability, you went mute, completely
Yeah,
mute.
so that was just kind of the compounded issue, and eventually got to a point where my neurologist told me I needed to stop being outside in the heat. I'd get outside in the heat and I would pass out a lot, and what they found was, when you get in extreme colds, which we're in Texas, so we don't get it here, but like if you're up north, like where I come from, and it gets extreme colds, your body reacts in a way that all the blood rushes to your from your extremities to cover your core to keep everything alive, pretty much. Um, when I something got crossed in one of my concussions, and now whenever I get super hot, my brain does the same reaction. So all the blood rushes from my extremities, but it also pulls it all from my face and my head as well. And so, and you can't tell someone who's worked outside, a cowboy, been working cows and outside his whole life, you can't tell him he can't be outside anymore. I mean, that's like taking
Yeah.
your manhood away. And so I just was, I was bullheaded, and I was out mowing the lawn and doing it with a push mower, and I could feel the symptoms coming on, but I just kept pushing because I was like, I want to finish the yard. I'm, bullheaded. I knew if I stopped, I wouldn't be able to finish it. So I tried to push through, and eventually enough uh, blood drained from my head that it started robbing it of oxygen. And so I had what's called a hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy. And pretty much what that means is that because blood wasn't getting back to the brain, it robbed a section of the brain from oxygen, and it caused it to shut
Yeah.
down. And so
Yeah.
I collapsed, and I was, probably only about 30, 40 yards from the back door. And I crawled to the back door using my arm because my legs had gone completely useless. And I got into the house, and the cold air hit me, and the cold air hit too fast, and I cooled off too fast. And so I had a catatonic reaction is what they are, catatonic syndrome reaction, or catonia. And pretty much I looked at the wall and just got froze in my body. And so I'm staring at the wall, can't take my eyes off. I was looking at a light switch, and I couldn't take my eyes off that light switch, no matter how hard I tried. And I could feel I could feel my eyes burning because I couldn't blink. I could feel the tears running down my cheeks. I could feel the slobber going down my chin and dripping on my chest. I could feel everything, and I was literally trapped in my body, not able to do anything. And I was trapped like that for 4 hours until my wife got home from work and found me in that sense. And so she was trying to snap me out of it, and eventually I kind of snapped out of it. Still wasn't fully there, and I was trying to tell her that I was okay, and she wasn't reacting to me. And I tell her again, I'm okay, and she wouldn't react. And after about the third time, I realized I'm thinking it, but nothing's coming out, not even a noise coming out. And so it ended up being a mutism reaction to the catatonic. So it all stacked on top of itself, and then it was, do you want to talk again or not? And I'd already gone through my bull riding career ending at 21. I'd already gone through, after I'd left riding bulls, we took over as youth pastors and worship pastors at a church in Montgomery, Texas. And we'd grown a youth group of about a dozen kids to hundreds of kids. And we were reaching places all over the U.S., satellite into teenagers. We were hitting about 2,000 kids a week that we were reaching with that. And I had to step away from that because of the brain injury. So here I have already had to step away from 2 careers because of something out of my hands. And now, I'd started doing the stand-up comedy, and it was really starting to take off and really starting to kind of have its momentum. And I was tired, and I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to have to change again. I didn't want to have to find another career changing thing and just shift the entire GPS. So I just made up my mind that I'm going to do whatever it takes to talk again. And so I worked my tail off, and woke up every morning. I looked up, our insurance wouldn't cover me going to, actually, didn't even have insurance because our insurance dropped me because of my brain injury. And so we couldn't afford for me to go to rehab and to do it at a rehab facility. So I looked up the neurologist. He sent me some exercises, said, do these. And I looked up everything to do to make myself talk again. And I'd wake up in the morning, and I did those literally till I went to bed at night, and just slowly through time, started teaching myself to talk again. And within 3 months, I was back on stage. I wasn't speaking the best, but I was speaking enough that I could get my sets out and stuff. And then within 6 months, you couldn't even tell. But this is a thing for me that I have to do every day. I have to do 2 to 4 hours of brain exercises every single morning. If I don't do those brain exercises within a couple of days, I start slurring my speech really bad. Within 4 or 5 days, I start stuttering really bad. And then if I go, longer than a week and a half, then I'm back to not being able to speak again, and I have to work really hard to get that back. And so this is a daily fight for me. Something that I have to have purpose to want to do this. And so with comedy and with speaking, it forces me to speak a lot. It forces me to work on that. And so I don't let a day, like if I do comedy one night, and let's say the comedy show gets over at 12:31 in the morning, and I have to drive 5 or 6 hours to go speak at a conference, and I'm like, they got me on at 9 in the morning. I'll drive through the night, maybe get to the hotel at 3 or 4 in the morning. I don't go to bed. I immediately start doing brain exercises. I go speak, and then I go back to my room and finally go to bed. If I'm speaking at 7 in the morning, I'm waking up at 1 or 2 in the morning and making sure that I do enough brain exercises, because I don't want to have something happen. I've had it happen a couple times on stage doing comedy where my brain acts up, and it's a sick feeling. And so I just work hard every day so that I can go out there and inspire people and push people to that no matter what you're facing, that hard work can get past that. It's you have to make up your mind of am I willing to settle with this as my life, or am I willing to push through and work every day to not let this be my reality and have what I want on the other side of that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, dude, that is serious. I mean, the brain is such a powerful thing, but it is so delicate, right? I mean, I have not had a brain injury like you've had. A few years ago, I had what's called viral encephalitis. Okay, so basically, that's just an infection across the blood-brain barrier, and it caused brain swelling. I forgot who I was. I couldn't recognize anyone. I lost my ability to speak. I couldn't walk on my own. I mean, it screwed me up. It screwed up when I came around again, it messed up my short-term memory. So a lot of times, even when I'm doing the podcast, I'll be talking, like mid-sentence, and then all of a sudden my brain just shuts off, and it's like blank, and then I have to so I think our audience, my audience kind of gets the idea now, and they're like, he's having one of the episodes. He's going through it right now. His brain just shut off. So I
my audience, it's so funny because
you have to go through.
Well,
Nothing
so
like
they're
what you're
actually kind of
going
in the
through.
same. They're in the same family. The
Yeah.
encephalopathy, encephalitis. They're kind of in that same family, and it's that same deal. And here's the thing I tell, because every comedy show I do that I talk about it at all, which I talk about it some, at least every show if I've got enough time, or every speaking gig I go to, there's at least one person comes up that either they have something with their brain or they have a family member, and they always say, well, it's not as bad as yours, and that's, I hate it when people say that, because everybody's different. Everybody has their fight. Everybody has what they
Yeah.
have to go through. And the thing with brain injuries is it's not like a broken leg. Broken leg, everybody can see the cast. They know something's going on. You break your neck, you got to wear that big halo. Everybody sees it. But with a brain injury, they don't understand that
You don't
something's
see
going
it.
on. They see you
Yeah.
blank out, you forget their name, and they get offended because you forgot their name. And it's like, you understand, I don't even remember you. Like, well, I don't,
Yeah.
whatever your name, I don't even remember you. And it's like, Dad, I'm your kid, and it's so, like, they don't,
Yeah.
it's so hard for people to recognize that you're having issues, or recognize that you're going through stuff. And so, that's why I wrote my book, Knocked Out But Not Down, is because I want people to see from my perspective, from the perspective of somebody who deals with things on a daily basis, I pass out, I forget names, I forget things, I'll forget who I am sometimes. I'll forget where I'm at. I try to piece together things. I'll look around and try to read stuff and try to figure out where I'm at and what I'm doing based on what's around me. But it happened to me while we were in Germany one time, and I'm thinking we're still in America, so I don't know, I don't know where I'm at. And I'm looking around at all these signs, and I'm like, holy cow, I forgot how to read too. Like, it kind of scared me for a second. And so, like, I want to put people into that mindset of somebody who deals with on an extreme basis, but everybody's brains are different. Everybody reacts different. A lot of the stuff I deal with is because of other injuries as well. I broke the hangman's bone in my neck. That's a super dangerous place. It's called the hangman's bone because that's what breaks when people are hung, and it kills them on the spot. And so, like, cracking that bone, I have a bone spur there. Well, that gives me a lot of the issues. So with my brain injury mixed with the stuff going on in my neck, that's what causes me to pass out a lot. It's because it's not one or the other; it's both of those together. And so, I want to take people through the mindset of somebody who, when suicidal thoughts just come out of nowhere, because it's different with brain injuries than it is somebody who's fighting depression, because it's almost like checking things off a
Yeah.
checklist. And so I wrote that book to really, number one, get a lot of stories out, entertain people, inspire people, motivate people, but also to help people who are dealing with concussions, help people who are have someone in their family dealing with concussions, but to put it in that mindset and that deal. And the reality is how many concussions I've had and the amount of damage I have. So the entire front right lobe of my brain has been inactive now for over 12 years. And
Wow.
neurologists believe, because of my high IQ, I was tested in college. I had a professor wanted me to get tested because of how quickly I answered math problems, and they found out I was on the Mensa scale. And so the neurologists believe they can't prove it because there's really nothing to link those, but they think that has to have something to do with the high, as much as my brain processes things faster because of the high IQ, that's a big
Yeah.
reason. Not so much that I'm functioning, but it's a big reason why the rest of the brain kind of picked up the slack really, really fast, if that makes sense. When my front right lobe started shutting down, they did a test where they hooked up all these sensors on me, and they put me in this like CAT scan type machine, and there was like pictures, and there was words, and there was math problems and all this different stuff, and I had to say out loud what it was, and it would trigger the different lobes of the brain. And they had a 3D video of it that we had, and it was so cool to see, because you'd see this little area of dots light up in that lobe, and you'd see dots light up in this lobe. But when it got to the front right lobe, it stayed dark, but it was like a Christmas tree. The rest of the brain just lit up. And so they really think,
Wow.
because of my high IQ, that the brain kind of almost adapted itself to the situation, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
so because I can articulate, because I can go through something and write down what happened and be able to put it into words, it was really important for me to put it into a book for people to read, get firsthand accounts. Maybe if they've had someone who's had concussions who did commit suicide, that they can see that what was possibly going through their mind. I can't say what was going through their mind, but I hear a lot of, they were happy 30 minutes earlier, then all of a sudden what happened, and to
Yeah.
understand how quickly a concussed brain can go that way. And
Yeah.
like CTE is a really big deal now, and you can't diagnose CTE before death because you have to take slivers of the brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like my neurologist, he's like, I can't diagnose it with you, but I'm pretty convinced you have late stages of it
Oh, yeah.
just based on
See,
everything else. But you can't, if he
without
officially
amount of brain
diagnosed me, he'd
damage.
lose. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without amount of brain damage, I mean, almost certainly,
Yeah.
you have some at some level CTE for sure. I'd be shocked if I didn't have something as well.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something interesting that you don't like when people kind of minimize it, and I need to stop doing that about my brain injury
Hmm.
because the reason why I do it is because you remember your brain injury. Is
Yeah.
you remember
Yeah.
it? Like
I
I
mean,
don't.
yeah.
I
I don't
don't. So
remember 90% of it, but I remember enough. So,
yeah,
yeah.
so I don't remember any of it. So I have a I and I mine happened during a week span of time, right?
Yeah.
And so for an entire week of my life, as traumatic as that may have been, to me it's not a big deal
Yeah.
because I don't remember any of it. I do not have my own memory of the events for an entire week.
Yeah.
Everything that I know about my injury is because of the stories that I've heard from my kids or my wife, or because they were smart enough to videotape it, and so now we can all laugh at it because
Yeah.
dad has lost his freaking mind,
Yeah.
right? and
Yeah.
and we can laugh at it. So I minimize it, I think, because of that. Because
Yeah.
if I was able to go back and say, "Oh my gosh, like that was more serious than I thought it was," yeah, I probably wouldn't minimize it. But I think the reason why I do is
Yeah.
because I don't remember it. I don't. To me, it wasn't a big deal. To me, to this day, right now, it's not a big deal because I don't have a memory of it at all, right? And I
Yeah.
know that people that get it in my age usually never come out of it or don't survive, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of where we're at. That's the age group I'm in.
Do you speak on that
For the
now,
most part.
on that experience and stuff?
What's that?
Do you speak on that experience and stuff now?
A little bit, not much. I don't speak on it a whole lot. I bring it in from time to time if the opportunity is right. Um, I just really haven't done a whole lot with that. And again, I think it's because of that. It's not a big deal to me. Like if I had a heart attack, like one of my friends had a heart attack, and I was like, at least you remember, like
Yeah.
I got an
Yeah.
ambulance ride out of it and the whole 9 yards. And I've been wanting to ride an ambulance with the lights on, sirens blaring, going
Yeah.
120 down the highway. And that's been my long life dream, right?
Yeah.
I get the opportunity and I don't remember any of it.
Yeah,
I
but
was
sometimes,
robbed. I'm telling you, Nick,
yeah.
I was robbed.
Hey, a lot of people's favorite story. I was at a bull ride. It was a three-head bull riding. It was two long goes and a short go, which means that everybody rode two bulls, and then the top fifth or top 10 on two come back. And the first round, I put on a really good bull ride. Getting off, I landed wrong and knocked myself out, but I was only out for like split second. I go back into the locker room. I'm feeling the same things you feel after a concussion. I'm nauseous. Lights hurt
Uh-huh.
my eyes. But the way bull ridings are set up, if you're in the first section in the first round, you're in the last section in the second
Yeah.
round. So I had quite a bit of time to recover. But when you have a concussion, your reflexes are a little slow. Well, I got on a really good bull in the second round, and my reflexes were just enough slow, and I got strung out on him, got a little back, and he kicked, and I come down and just smack, hit heads with him bad. I mean, there was no question I was knocked out that time. They had to carry me out of the arena actually on a stretcher, and they take me back to the medic area that they have in the locker rooms, and I'm sitting back there, and I remember getting jerked down, and then my next memory is I'm sitting up against the wall, and I've got a EMT sitting next to me wiping blood and mud from my face because I'd hit his head so hard that my helmet
Oh.
went through the padding and sliced my forehead open, and so I got blood coming
Oh,
down,
Nick, what are you
and so
doing?
and so I'm like, well, at least I don't got to get on any more bulls. Well, about that time, someone comes back and says, hey, you made the short go based on one head. Everybody they didn't have enough to ride two heads. So you're getting on here in about another 5 minutes. So I'm still not figuring things out. I get my bull rope and I head down the tunnel, and one of my friends puts the rope on for me. And I mean, I'm singing, Rocket Man in my head, and I'm just should never got on. And that's the thing where people need to understand, like, you're as a competitor, you're not going to stop yourself. You have to step
Yeah.
in. And a lot of my friends from that night that were there, they apologized so much. And I'm like, it really boiled down to me. I made the decision. I didn't know what was going on, Well, I get on my short goal bull, and short goal bulls are the rankest. And I mean, I nodded my head, and I should have never been getting on. And he yanked me down and I hit heads with him even worse. And I remember hearing the announcers. About the only thing I remember is hearing the announcers in the background while I was sliding up on my rope saying, "Nick was just knocked out. You saw him being carried out of the arena 20 minutes ago, and he's back on a bull. Let's give it up for this tough cowboy." And I nodded my head, and I remember coming down and seeing his head come up to my head, and then it was like I blinked and opened my eyes, and I'm in the back of our camper. We had a truck with a camper on the back of it that we rodeoed in, and I just pop up in the back of the camper. I'm like, well, where the heck am I? And I walk out the back of the camper, and the light hits me, and I'm sure I reacted like someone who was hungover from being drunk. But I mean, and I went and found my travel partner. He was in the hospitality tent. We were at the next rodeo, which was about a 14-hour drive away. And so I went and found him in the hospitality tent, and he was eating lunch. And I was like, man, I'm so sorry that you had to drive that whole way. I must have slept. And he goes, what are you talking about? He said, you drove the entire trip. And to this day, I still don't remember a single turn or nothing, and driving 14 hours in the car and just waking up in the back of that. And as much as I want to, so the not remembering it is, it's part of it. It's the brain is amazing. And quite frankly, there's certain things I don't want to remember. You know what I mean? Like there's some things I'm kind of glad I don't remember those. And with each knockout, my wife jokes that she's been married to 20 different men, but she's only been married to me. It's because every time I got knocked out, my personality changed. And there's some personalities in there that
that are not
I hate
nice.
Myself, and it's like, I'm kind of like, there's some personalities where I'm like, hit me upside the head and change me again. Like, I do not like the way I am right now, because it changes.
Time for a different personality, honey.
Yeah, exactly. Knock me out until I get the one you want. So yeah, then she's like, I want the one you are right now, protected in bubble wrap. I'm like, okay. So
yeah, instead of whack-a-mole, it's a whack-a-nick. Get exactly. A different guy in here right now. So Nick, I mean, to me, that's incredible. It's incredible that you've endured all the things that you've endured with your injuries, and that you've come so far. And I love that you've throughout our discussion so far, you've mentioned a couple of things that are a couple of principles that are dear to the podcast, and that is perseverance and purpose. Right? You found you had purpose when you were a bull rider and you were involved in that. You had purpose. It was probably very clear why you were doing it. Although I think it's crazy, right? I think anybody that gets on a 2,000-pound animal for fun is a little off their rocker anyway. But you did it, and you had purpose. You went through it. You had perseverance. You've persevered through all the injuries, and now where you're a stand-up comedian. I've heard you on stage. I've been through, looked at some of your clips. Very, very funny. I love it. I mean, you're doing a great job. You're killing it. If you got me laughing, you're doing something right, because I don't laugh easily. But you have me laughing, all the way now to motivational speaker, and being able to share this incredible experience that you've been given, right? Because I look at it like this. I look at it like it's a gift, right? We can look at it as this horrible thing that happened to us, or this trial and this thing that happens. But I think of it as a gift, and you've been given this gift so that you can share it with other people, and God can use your talents, your humor, your ability to tell a story to help inspire others, and to motivate them and to change their lives. So you wrote a book, Knocked Out But Not Out and Not Down. Is it out yet? Have you released
so
the
we
book?
Actually just today we finalized the cover front and back.
Okay.
It's so right now I think they're sending the first copy to print sometime this week, and then I will get a pre-copy. I will get one. The team lead at the publishers company will get one. One of the editors will get one, and I think one other person. And we will go through them, and my wife will go through it. We have to read the whole book, find anything, and then we send it back. If we didn't have many changes, then we should be early November is kind of our goal. Excellent. If we have to do some more changes, it's going to be towards kind of the back end of November. So
that's still plenty of time for Christmas.
Yeah, we want to get it before Christmas. We really want to get it before the NFR. That's the Super Bowl of rodeo, and so we really want to get it out, and that starts December 3rd. And so our goal is to try to get that out. I'm possibly going to South Point Casino and Resort to do a book signing when the NFR
Nice.
starts. That's kind of where all the rodeo cowboys hang out at the beginning. The week leading up to the NFR, that's where they're all at. And then, after the bucking horse and bull sale's over, then all the team ropers come in. And so all the real rodeo cowboys, they all leave because they don't want to be around all those
Yeah.
team ropers. But so
Yeah.
I'm looking at doing something there like December 3rd, somewhere in that time. Maybe doing another comedy show while I'm there. Typically, if I go up during the NFR, someone puts me up somewhere to do some comedy shows in Vegas, and just kind of since my crowd is pretty much already there. And so yeah, our goal is to get it out then. This is all a new process for me. We started in May, and I pretty much took all of May, June, and July off, and spent 6 to 12 hours a day writing on this thing, and got it finished. And I'm really excited how it turned out. The beta feedback has been incredible. Really, really positive feedback on the book of that affected people's lives and helping them out and stuff. And so, and you talked about purpose, and that's kind of one of my main things, honestly, is the purpose. I've been speaking for over 25 years. I started speaking when I was 15 years old, but I never really did it with intention. It just was like if the opportunity presented itself. When I was riding bulls, I went to a lot of schools and would talk about rodeo and bull riding and represent the PBR in that sense, because I was a bull rider who could speak. And so I did a lot of PR stuff for them, and then, speaking in, the church atmosphere and all that stuff. And I did a lot of motivational speaking, but it wasn't till all of this really kind of happened with the learning to talk again that I was like, I'm given a chance here to really impact people, and I don't want to waste that light, what's going on in my life, and how everything kind of worked itself out. And sorry, my dogs are going nuts over here. I apologize.
No,
My wife is typically here when I'm on podcast, but she's a teacher and she got stuck there.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah.
Trust me, we're all about dogs, so you're totally good. No worries at all. No, one of the things that I found intriguing, it is a process. Writing a book, releasing it is a process. I know we've done 2 of them, and we're waiting for our 3rd one, probably released around December. Actually, right now it's probably looking more like January timeframe, but for our 3rd one to come out. So I'm glad that you put a book out there, and that you did that. I think that'll be very, very interesting to read. I definitely want to get a copy of that. So keep me posted when you do release that. Definitely want to check that out. So Nick, how do you now view knockdowns? You probably had a certain view about being knocked down or knockdowns in the past, but how do you view those now? And what is the main message towards people?
I see it as just settling and giving up, really, honestly. And it's easy. I get it. Like, the rodeo world, broken necks and broken backs are really prominent. My brother, I watched my brother go through. My brother was he had world champion written all over him as a saddle bronc rider. And his rookie year, he broke his neck and he's paralyzed from the armpits down. And I have 8 friends in rodeo who are paralyzed from broken necks or broken backs. And in rodeo, you're dealing with wild animals, especially the rough stock events. You're probably going to break your back or your neck at some point. And so it's a high. You get on knowing that that's a very high possibility. And so that's always kind of part of it. But I've watched so many of those that when they broke their neck or broke their back, they just gave up and they just settled with, well, this is what my life is now, and they're miserable. They're real bitter. They get bitter everything around them, and bitter at all that stuff. And don't get me wrong, I fought bitterness really bad. It was hard for me. And all of my friends who have been successful on the other side of breaking their neck or their back, they had to fight through bitterness as well. But I've watched so many of my friends be successful. My brother is a CEO of an extremely successful company. Probably he's considered the #1 broker in the world when it comes to rough stock, to bucking horses and bucking bulls, of brokering sales between celebrities and millionaires wanting to get into the bucking bull business, and he's connecting them with guys who raise the bulls, and then those bulls being sold to other producers. Like, he's in the middle of all that. He's considered pretty much the #1 guy. I've got one of my best friends, J.R. Vizane. I actually happened to be. He broke his back while he was in Houston. He was at Pasadena's rodeo. It was 7 years ago, last week. And he ended up at Memorial Hermann. So I was able to be down there with him quite a bit and encourage him, because I'd been through it with my brother. I'd been through it with my own broken back. And now he's a very, successful, he's a fan favorite. He was already a fan favorite before he broke his back, but what he's able to do. We've started a nonprofit called Spur Your Way Out. He started it. I'm just on the board for it, and the point of it is to buy track chairs and walking legs, robotic legs, and wheelchair ramps
Nice.
and wheelchair vehicles for people, because he had people step in and help him get that stuff. And so I've watched that. I've got another friend. Netflix made a movie about her, and she broke her back, and now she's a highly successful motivational speaker. And like I said, if Netflix makes a movie about you, you've done something right. And so, like, I've seen all these friends. I had another one went on, ran for governor of a state, and so I've got all these rodeo friends who they didn't let it end their career. When you face adversity, you have a choice to let it define you, let that moment define you, or fine tune you. Too many people they let it define them, and they get knocked out. They get knocked out by it, but they don't get back up. They hit the mat, and they're just like, and I'm tired. I've already been knocked out, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Like, I just don't want to get off this mat anymore. And so it's just that thing of, you just finally are like, you know what, this is just the way I'm going to be, and I'm just going to let my life be like this. And they let themselves be defined as that. Yes, people are going to see you for what happened that day. Yes, people are going to define you for that. My nickname's Fainting Goat. It's FG. I'm defined because I pass out, because they see me pass out in front of them. And so, people want me to pass out because they want to be part of it. We now call it, well, I don't call it, my friends call it the Fainting Goat Club. Like, if you've been there when he passed out, you're part of the club. And so, like, the comedians I've been on tour with, they were all so excited. And then they left the hotel room. This was Thursday night, just this last week. They left the hotel room to go get something, and I got up, go to the bathroom, passed out, and I was like, "Y'all missed your chance. Like, you were like 5 minutes for being in the club." But being knocked down is just that. You have to ask yourself, when you're laying there on the mat, and whatever that is that's been, it's a broken back, it's being laid off from work, it's being diagnosed with something incurable, or you have to say, do I want this to define me? And be like, okay, well, there's the guy in the wheelchair, and that's who he's going to be the rest of his life. Or there's the guy that, well, I guess he almost made it, or do you want to be like, okay, what can I do? How can this fine tune me to get better on the other side? What can I learn from this to not set myself up to maybe be in this place again? If you keep getting fired from jobs for the same thing, you might want to look at it and say, what am I doing that's making me get fired from these jobs at that same time? But to me, being knocked down versus being knocked out is, everybody's going to be knocked out at some point. You're going to hit the mat, and you're going to be laying there, and there's that moment in your head where you have to say, I call it the 15-minute rule. Yeah. And it can be 15 minutes. It can be 15 days, whatever it is, but you're laying there. At some point you have to say, okay, I've had my 15 minutes to mope about it. Now there's nothing I can do to change what has happened. There's nothing, it happened. The only thing I can change is what I can do moving forward. If it's something somebody else did to me, I can't control them. If it's something somebody else said about me, I can't control what they think. I can't control what they say. I can only control what my mindset is. I can only control what I do once I get off this mat. And then you have to push yourself back up. So to me, the difference between being knocked out and knocked down is, you're going to get knocked out. And that's why I flipped that term for being knocked out, knocked down, not out. Is because I flipped that term, because you're going to get knocked out. I mean, people are going to face adversity, and it's not the moment of getting punched. It's the moment of you're laying on the mat, you're tired, your head hurts, and your body says, I want to quit. And it's that moment you say, I'm not letting myself stay down. What can I do to move forward from this and get on the other side of it? So that's what that means to me.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's powerful. And that is,
I kind of wish I thought all that before the book. I just thought of that on the spot. I'm like, that should have been in the book.
Just do a rewrite.
Yeah, man. So I'm putting that in my speech is what I'm doing.
There you go. Put it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful. I think that is right on. I call those moments the Rocky moments, right? Yeah. You can get knocked out. Like you said, we all get knocked out at some point, whether it's an illness, whether it's, losing employment, whatever it is, you get knocked out. But it's what you do when you're down. Do you get back up? Yeah. And that's why I call the podcast Live the Life, because that's why I wanted to have you on, Nick, because I was like, man, anyone that's gone through what he's gone through, that dude is living the life, right? He's got the right attitude. He's not letting that be the thing that see, I'm having an episode right now because my mind just went totally blank. It's not defining you, right? Yeah. It's you are finding ways to share what you've gone through to help empower others and to build others up. And I think that's a beautiful thing. That's living the life. It's not sitting back saying, "Oh, look what I could have had. I could have been a, you know, I could have been a world champion bull rider. I could have been this. I could have been that. My career could have. I could have, you know, I could have done all these things because of my career." Instead, you're saying, "Hey, it's okay. I did those things. It didn't work out the way maybe I thought it would work out, but I'm doing this other thing. And how can I have influence and impact doing this? How do I influence and impact people with comedy? Man, if you can make people laugh, you just took their troubles away for 20 minutes, however long you're on stage. If you're, talking to a company, a motivational speaker, you have an opportunity to inspire someone to change their life and to do something different or to think about things in a different way. So that's living the life, dude. This is exactly why I wanted to have you on the
Yeah.
podcast. One quick question before we end, but I'm thinking I probably need to have you back once you release your book because
Yeah, for
I
sure.
definitely would love to continue this conversation. But here's my last question for you. Um, Besides the comeback itself, right? Because that's amazing in itself. Besides that, how do you hope people remember? What do you hope people remember about your story?
I the biggest thing is that if he can do it, I can do it. Like that's really honestly what I want my I don't want people to remember my story so much as I want them to remember the impact. Does that make sense? Like when I
Yeah,
go do comedy, I don't care if people remember my comedy bits. I want them to remember how they felt. Like I'm
yeah,
not a lot of comedians, they step on stage and they're there to get laughs from people because it's like a drug. It really is.
yeah,
And they're
yeah,
feeling that drug addiction of I got to get that laugh. And when they don't get that laugh, they have this emotional high and low of, well, it wasn't as good of a show as it was, yesterday, or it wasn't a good, like that wasn't my best bet. And we all run into that because you want to give your best to people. But my mindset is that there's somebody in here that's going through something, and I want them to leave here forgetting about that. We were in a dance hall in Hallettsville, Texas. It's called Blazes Hall. Sold out crowd, and there was these four boys sitting in the front row, and I will never forget this. And anytime I think to myself, oh, I'm doing comedy for me, I think of these four boys because we're sitting there, and the host gets up, and they're just sitting there. They're not laughing so much. Everybody else is. They're not. Then the opener comes up, and they start laughing a little bit. And then the next act comes up and they're starting laughing a little more. Then my feature comes up and they're starting to really get into it. And then I come up the headline and they're starting to laugh. As the night progressed, they started to open up more and more to the point that they were just having fun and laughing. And so I'm back at the merch table afterwards, and this what I thought was their mom and dad come walking up with the four boys, and they're sitting there and they got some merch, and I'm signing the merch for them and stuff. And the who I thought was the dad pulled me aside and he said, I'm actually their uncle. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, both of their parents were all of these boys' parents were killed in a car wreck, and this is the first time they've left the house. And we wanted to take them somewhere to where they could enjoy themselves, and so we bought them tickets, and we bought front row tickets because we wanted to be sitting up front row, and we wanted them to laugh again. We wanted them to enjoy life again. It's hard when you lose your parents, and here's these four boys at the front. And I'm gonna tell you something. I broke down crying. Like that's the type of thing that just it hit me because that's why I do what I do. That's why I go and speak. When I tried to attempt suicide the second time, I had the same bullet in the gun that I had the first time that misfired, and it hit the back of that bullet again and had another dent in the back of that bullet, and it didn't fire. And I remember hollering out to God, "What do you want for me?" And I've made my mind up that I'm going to put this bullet back in there again. I'm going to fire it in the ground. And if it fires, then then God wants something from me and I'm supposed to go impact people. If it doesn't, then I just made a mistake and I'll kill myself another way. And I fired that gun in the ground and the bullet went off. And that was the moment I made my mind up that I'm not going to let a day go by. I'm not going to let a moment go by that I'm not trying to make an impact in somebody's life, that I'm not trying to pour into somebody. I wake up every morning saying to God, what do you want me to do today? Because I want you to guide my steps every day. But who do you want me to make an impact on today? And then if I don't have someone, I go find someone. I go to the grocery store, or I find somebody that I can make an impact on, or I go on LinkedIn and I just message everybody. I add as many people and I message, hey, my name's Nick. And then if someone reaches back, I'm like, hey, what, just pour into them. We were at a comedy club, and I don't want to say clubs, I don't want to get that in trouble, but at these bigger clubs, you have a private waiter that waits on you. And this was just this past week. And my goal when I go there is to be an impact to everybody there. I'm going to go to every single worker and shake their hand and thank them for working. I'm going to go in the kitchen, thank the kitchen staff. I'm going to go and this waiter, and I'm just talking to him, asking him questions about his life. And he teared up at the end of the night and he said, "You're the first comedian that's ever treated me like a human." And that hit me, because I'm like, that's why I'm going. Like, yes, I'm walking on stage for everybody there, but my heart is the people everybody's looking past. My heart is the workers at a conference. Like, if we're at a convention at a conference, and you know how it is, you're at those conventions, especially at the dinners, and all the waiters are lined up in the back, and I'm going to come off stage and I'm going to walk down every single one of those waiters and shake their hands. And man, thank you for being here. Thank you for pouring into these people. Thank you because those are the people it's going to make the biggest impact into. I don't want them to remember my story as much as I want them to remember how I treated them. I want them to remember who I was as a human being, not what circumstances hit me. That despite all of that I can come up there and I can treat you like a human being. I'm not going to look down at you. Everybody's going to be a 10. I'm going to do I go to NSA meetings and I'm like, man, I'm there to just bless people. I'm there to learn, but I'm going to pick stuff up. I'm going to pick trash up, throw things away, because my heart is, I want people to remember how I treated them, not what I said, not my story, not my book, not anything. I want people to remember the way they were treated, because I want them to turn around and treat other people that same way. People that go on tour with me, I will not go on tour with someone if they don't treat the waiting staff and everybody else the same exact way that I'm treating them, because I want everybody that I'm surrounding myself with to have that same mentality, so that when we leave, people go, man, they made an impact in my life. That waiter, I had him reach out to me on Instagram. I've been talking to him every day, encouraging him every single day on Instagram, because he was going through a rough time in his life. And it just took somebody acknowledging him as a human being and not being like, well, I'm the big comedian that come into this club, so you have to look up to me. It's like, no, tell me about your life. Like, tell me what's going on in your life. And so long answer for a short question. Sorry.
No, man, I love it. I absolutely love it. And that's what life is all about. My dad, when I was growing up, he taught me that you treat the janitor the same way that you would treat the CEO, or the vice versa, right? It's you treat people the way that you would want them to treat you, and that's just what you do. And that's as a professional speaker, that's what I've done with my career, and that's my approach. And I love that you have a very similar approach. You don't make it about you; you make it about the people that you're serving. And hey, listen, you may or may not ever have been a world champion bull rider, but you're a world champion at life. And everybody here at the podcast, I've Lived the Life podcast. We got your back, Nick, anytime. Please don't stop speaking, because we need you around. We need your voice. We need your humor. And we need you to continue to inspire thousands upon thousands as you continue to speak. So don't ever think that you're just speaking so that you don't lose the ability to speak again. Know that you need to speak because you inspire thousands of people around the world. So thank you for all you do. And with that said, thank you for coming onto the podcast, man. It was great. Absolutely. For all of my lifers out there, I hope you enjoyed this episode with Nick Morrison. I will put all his links on the description. So definitely go check him out. Make sure that if he's coming to your city, you go purchase your tickets. You definitely want to see him on stage. I will keep you all posted on the release of his book, because he's going to keep me posted, because I know where he hangs out once a month. And so we'll get that figured out and get that information out to all the lifers out there. But Nick, again, thank you so much. And hey, everybody out there, continue living the life.